Hi, my name's Susanna Cahalan, and this is my story. I was 24, healthy, and working my dream job as a journalist in New York City at the New York City Post. And then over a few weeks, everything started to fall apart. I didn't get into an accident, and I didn't get sick in the usual way. My brain basically just turned it on itself. It didn't start with anything super obvious. I just started feeling off, like really off. I couldn't complete thoughts, I was forgetting deadlines, I had raging headaches. It felt like a never-ending hangover. I was convinced a bedbug bit me, but no one else saw the bite. I didn't necessarily feel sick, but I didn't feel like myself anymore. I still had to get myself up every day and go to work. The more I thought, the more I spiraled. I was anxious all the time, and I was convinced something bad was going to happen. I was nothing like myself anymore. But I also didn't want to go to the doctor. That just felt so dramatic, and I had so many things to do. My friends and family noticed even before I did. I was acting differently, saying weird things. I was still functioning, but something was clearly wrong. People thought I was just sick or tired or stressed. I started to believe them. When I looked at myself, I didn't even know who I was. This is when things get a little scary. I have no recollection of this night, but according to my boyfriend, we were sleeping in his bed, and I sat straight up, started spitting blood, put my arms straight out like a zombie, and started seizing. He immediately called 911. Obviously, I went to the doctors, but they didn't really seem to care that much. They told me it was probably stress from work and that I was putting too much pressure on myself, or I was drinking too much wine at night. They told me it happens all the time, and they even tried to convince my parents that I was an alcoholic. My mom listened to the doctors. She was desperate for answers. She pulled up to my apartment in her car and forced me out of my apartment. I screamed at her and argued, but it was no use. I ended up going to my old house. My mom took me to so many psychiatrists I can't even remember. They'd ask me dumb questions, and I just kept jumping from thought to thought. They definitely thought I was crazy. They all focused on my behavior. They thought it was mental illness. I was told I was having mental breakdowns. The doctors couldn't pick out what they thought it was. I was told bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, psychosis. The thing was, I didn't mind that the doctors were diagnosing me. I wanted an answer. Except the second I started taking the pills, I knew that was making me worse. Within 24 hours of my first pills, I refused to take them anymore. They were causing me to get worse. In hindsight, I know this was just a paranoia. Things started to get a lot worse. I remember one time I was sitting at the table with my mom, and she screamed at me, "You're such a brat." But in reality, this actually didn't happen, and I just heard it. After all the arguing with my mom, I had my second seizure. At this point, my parents didn't even know who I was anymore. This time we went back to the doctor, and my parents weren't taking no for an answer. They insisted I be hospitalized until someone could figure out what was wrong with me. The doctor was basically forced to agree, and they took me to a hospital and put me on the epilepsy floor, where I could be constantly monitored. There's huge chunks of times that I don't remember at all. Entire days, conversations. My family was watching this happen, and they couldn't do anything to reach me. Then, one doctor asked a question that no one else did. Instead of medications or blood tests, he had me draw a clock, and I drew all of the numbers on one side. He was the first doctor to actually ask, maybe it was a mental illness, and maybe my body was attacking my brain. I wrote Brain on Fire because I don't remember living it. This book is proof that not all illnesses look the same, and that sometimes the most dangerous disease is the one that no one thinks to look for. This isn't just my story, it's a warning, a mystery worth reading.